I find it really hypocritical how Indians and South Asians will talk about prejudice they experience by white people and then turn around and take that same discriminatory energy and use it against black people. I know it happens. I grew up hearing it. So let's talk about how you are so eager to fit in that you would rather appease those who oppress you than support other oppressed groups. You know what that smells like? Desperation for acceptance. And the sad part is, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work to blend in, you will still be seen as an other.
I made a video a few days back, and the basic premise of that video was that I had an issue with my community, the Indians, being racist towards the African American community. Now, obviously, I anticipated some negative comments, and there were a few, and most of them aren't even worth talking about because there was some variety of whataboutism. There was one that surprised me, though, and it was this idea that I was pandering to the Black American community. So, since that question was from a South Asian, I'd like to answer that by telling you the history of South Asians in the United States. So the whole thing starts in the late 1800s. There were Sikh laborers and farmers who ended up coming through Canada, ended up on the West Coast. They worked on the railroads, they worked in lumber mills, they eventually ended up in agriculture, and they ended up in California. Now, because of the laws of the land at that time, Asians were not allowed to buy or hold any property. So the Sikh men found a workaround by marrying Mexican women who were citizens or who could be citizens. So in the early 1900s, there were these Sikh Mexican communities in California, which is amazing to me, and I'm going to learn everything about them whenever I get a chance. But right here, I'd like to pause the story for a second. A special shout out to the Sikh community. For those of you that don't know, they're the warriors of our society. They're always the first in. And apparently now you can add to their accomplishments that they were the first Indian men to step to Latinas. So thank you for that. Moving on, let's fast forward to 1917. 1917 is what begins the start of the era of legal erasure, or what is also called as the era of exclusion. I've been called both things. So it starts in 1917 with the Barred Zone Act. So what the U.S. did was they created what was called the Asiatic Barred Zone. This encompassed an area including a lot of Asia and part of the Pacific Islands where the United States would not take any more immigrants from. So immigration at that point was zero. So what happened to the South Asians in America? Well, I said legal exclusion, right? So for that, we have to fast forward to 1923. In 1923, there was a gentleman named Bhagat Singh Thind. He applied to become a U.S. citizen, and this case went all the way up to the Supreme Court. So his argument was, since he was high caste, he was Aryan, so therefore he should be considered white, and therefore he should be able to apply for citizenship. Supreme Court came back and said, though scientifically you are a Caucasian, in the eyes of the common man, you would not be considered white. So therefore, you have no rights. So what they did was they actually went back, and if there were any rights that South Asians had at that time, they stripped them of those rights. All right? And this is the situation that existed till 1947. Okay? Basically, no Indians coming in, and the Indians who were here had no rights. So let's get to 1946. So in 1946, the U.S. overturns the total ban on Indians. They allow 100 Indians per year starting in 1947. What was the reason for this magnanimous change by the United States? Well, it was the middle of World War II, and there were Indian soldiers dying. So it was diplomatically embarrassing that soldiers dying for your cause would not be allowed to enter your country, right? So from that point onwards, from 1947 onwards, 100 Indians were allowed every year until 1965. So in 1965 was the Immigration and Nationality Act, which changed all the rules of immigration for everybody. And from that point onwards, immigration was normalized. Now, for those of you who study American history, that number 1965 should be pretty instructive, because in 1964 was when the Civil Rights Act was passed. All right, so that's my argument. Let me take that back. All of our everything we've accomplished, none of that even gets off the ground without the sacrifice of Black Americans. And for that reason, I think at the very least, we can just not be racist towards them, because we're here and we're able to do this because of their sacrifice. So if you think that's pandering, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't care.
Besides Kamala Harris, I don't I don't know many other like black and Indian people.
I think there's a lot of racism within Indian culture against the black community.
Yeah.
But now people are getting empowered. Say, look, mom, if you want to be a part of my life, you're gonna have to deal with this. And mom's like, oh my God, I don't want to lose my kid. Okay. Okay, let's go to E40 concert. You know, like, I will learn your culture.
I think you build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics. Yet, I think so conveniently, and it was kind of ignorant, that all of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community. So if you could so conveniently use one specific ethnicity to kind of propagate your ideals, is that not identity politics in itself?
You allege I only spoke about what black people face in this society, and that's a form of identity politics. In fact, it is not. First of all, I spoke about the Bangladeshi women in the sweatshops sewing our clothes. I talked about women who've been forced to have children against their will in that form of enslavement. I spoke about trans people who have faced over 500 laws this year introduced or passed, not to mention the terror that's enforced against them. I spoke about what happens on this planet as a whole as it is heating due to the destruction of climate change driven forward by the system of capitalism, imperialism. So if you missed all that, I'm not surprised if you also missed some of the scientific undergirdings of it. But to be fair, I will walk through it again. I speak about black people in a very pronounced way when we come to revolution, because the exploitation, the enslavement, the dehumanization and the degradation that's been inflicted on black people is foundational to this society and this system. And that is scientifically a fact. It's evidence-based. The wealth of this country, the territorial reach of this country, the military strength of this country got its roots in American slavery, the chattel slavery of black people. And then on that foundation, the ideology of white supremacy, of black inferiority, was propagated. It was made a bedrock, of one of the glues of this society, and it has been woven into this society ever since. The forms of oppression have changed. It took a civil war to end slavery, but then what happened? After not even 10 years of Reconstruction, where black people were brought into some rights within this country, that was betrayed. The troops were pulled out, and black people were re-enslaved in new conditions, slavery by another name, sharecropping for generations, serf-like conditions enforced through terror, lynch mob terror and violence. And the troops were pulled out to go and finish off the extermination of the native peoples. Okay? Then, another generation comes up in the face of changes in the U.S. economy and the need to pull black people out of the South and into the factories. Black people stood up and they waged struggle in a civil rights movement. They gave their lives, they stood up. White people stood with them. They went down from the north and stood with them. This upended Jim Crow. It was heroic that many did just unbelievably brave things. And then that was dismantled. And what did this system come back with? A new Jim Crow of mass incarceration that has ground up millions of black lives. So when I tell the story, this is science, when I tell the story of a black woman in Harlem with binoculars next to her window watching in terror every time her 12-year-old, 13-year-old son crosses the street because of what police do every day to black people. Every fucking day. When I talk about that, that is a particular that concentrates a huge reality that is defining to this country. And that's scientifically true. It's evidence-based. It's woven into the fabric of this society. It's culture, it's economics, and it's global reach. Right. And so we can debate. If you want to argue that's not scientific, bring some evidence. If you didn't hear the science, then please. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me that it's a marginal thing. Tell me that to talk about that, I'm pimping off of it. I'm acknowledging reality. You want to say it's not defining to this country, that we shouldn't talk about it?
I want you to talk about it.
I am talking about it, yeah.
Okay, so just the fact that something actually happened or is true, doesn't, anything that's empirically based is not science, right? It's like saying anything that's true is scientifically, like, it's science. It's not. So I understand. what
Okay.
you're trying to say.
Okay, let me help. Oh, go ahead. Maybe he should get the mic.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments based on reason and rationale.
Here, take the mic just so it gets.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments on reason and rationale, but that doesn't mean that it's scientific, and that doesn't mean that it's false or wrong.
Okay.
I'm saying that the validity of your argument doesn't increase by throwing the word science out. Is
Well,
all I was trying to say.
okay, so I would argue that science actually can be applied to all of reality, not just narrowly in engineering or in the natural sciences. No, this is important. What you're raising is widely felt, it's widely believed, it's widely taught, I'm sure, on this campus, that you can apply science to medicine, to nature, to the natural world. There's the hard sciences, but when you get to social reality, it's just opinions, it's experience, whatever. No. You can apply science to everything. Everything that is part of reality, which societies are, can be analyzed scientifically. All science means, in a universal sense, is it's an evidence-based process. You gather evidence about reality, and you look for the deeper causes of the patterns in reality. And you can apply that to a society, just like you can apply it to a rainforest, just like you can apply it to a virus. You can say, what is the most defining thing about any given society? What undergirds it? What are the laws and its functioning? And a scientific analysis of this society says the most defining thing about this country is it's a capitalist, imperialist mode of production. That all of our needs are met through exploitation and people laboring in conditions all over the world to get the food we need, the clothes we wear, the pens we use, the microphones. All of this is created through global networks of production. And that all of our cultures, all of our ways of living, all of our ways of relating grow out of and have to reflect and more or less correspond to that. And so when we live in a society where the exploitation and oppression of black people has been woven into that mode of production all the way down to today, it leads to the culture and the society and the kind of police terror that we have today. That's applying science to a social contradiction.
And I'm telling you, people can deny this as much as I'll talk from my own family. They think black people smell. They think black people are always stealing, looking at lux. They think black people are corrupt. And you know what they say? It's their culture. It's their culture. Constantly that's who they are. And then when something happens, right? Say there's a robbery. 90% is going to be a black person.
Do you know what we call black people? We call them kala. It means black, not in a good way. If someone in your family is dark-skinned, we clown them. We call them kallu. Look at kallu.
If you want to see racism against black Americans, just go into tech. I am an engineer, 3 engineering degrees. If you want to see how people of immigrants treats black Americans, go in tech and go work with Indians.
Sometimes I open my Instagram and I get a DM from someone saying, hi, black cow. I don't really know what to say. They're obsessed with my skin color.
Please tell me y'all have seen this video of the black man walking through his neighborhood and some Indian man approaches him and is demanding that he shows his identification to prove that he lives in the neighborhood.
What's your name?
Anand, can I see your ID or something?
No, I mean, you can call the police or I can call the police. Can I see your ID?
Yeah.
Let me see your ID.
Yeah. Take out your ID and I'll take out my ID.
Let me take out your ID and I'm going to take out my ID.
Okay, let's... Can you get my phone? No, let's call the police. Give me a phone, let's call the police.
I'm in my own neighborhood where I live at, working in my neighborhood by my house, and I have this man asking me, do I live here?
Yes.
And what's your name?
Dude,
I'm going to start a civil lawsuit right now. That's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. You got to do it, man. But I want
What's your name, man? Because I'm walking the neighborhood where I live at, and I'm getting harassed.
No, wait. He's unnecessarily playing us.
But we took my cop.
Yes. Bring my phone. I don't have my phone. Get my phone.
Come with me and get the phone.
I will. Get my phone. Because this guy will escape otherwise. Get my phone. Get my phone.
Come with me.
Yes.
He's going back and forth with the man, walking all up into his personal space, calling him a boy. Like, really a boy?
Most of the racism that I've actually experienced since coming to Canada has been from Indians. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Is there a point of time in your life when you thought that I need to bleach my skin or whiten my skin?
Yeah, I thought many times.
No, Indians were not supposed to be fairer. India receives more than 250 sunny days. So vitamin D is directly absorbed by skin, hence more melanin content, hence the darker skin.
There was time when I was a teenage girl, I could see people who
like girls who were fairer than me, you know, they were treated in a different way. You could see the school teachers or everyone as like, oh, she's so cute, she's so pretty. So that time we feel, okay, I want to be that person.
I've been bullied for my skin tone, and that too by my teachers. Yeah, one of my teacher bullied me. I mean, I was in like class 3rd or 4th. I was just a child. I don't know that I have a dark tone and all.
My friends who are like a little darker than me, they sometimes feel that, you know, still that I should put tomato on my skin and this on my skin to become fair. So their self-confidence has been really affected.
Colorism is truly a scourge among brown folk. I remember experiencing colorism from the earliest moments of my life, and it was the first form of discrimination that I was acutely aware of because it came from my own people. For context, I am the darkest skinned person among my family, among my extended family, and the way having dark skin was phrased was discussed so nonchalantly among my family, among other brown community members, was almost as though being blacker, being browner, was in itself a pejorative. When I was young and I would meet family in India who I had never met before, the first conversation they would have was about where I got my skin tone from. My mom is fair-skinned, her mom is fair-skinned, and both my brother and my dad are brown-skinned. When I was in elementary school and my grandmother would come to visit us in the States, she would stop me from going out to play with other kids in the neighborhood because I was getting too dark. The sun was getting me too dark. When I was in high school and I got into my first long-term relationship with a fair-skinned girl, she very casually told me about the fact that her uncle would refer to me as Kali, and she said it as though it was a funny statement. To them, dark skin is inferior in the same way that the sky is blue. I was in my AP World History class in high school with one of the other few South Indian people within my friend group, and very casually the topic of like, oh, if you could choose any ethnicity to be, what would you be came up, right? And I was thinking, I was about to hear like Polynesian, because Polynesian guys are just buff as fuck for no reason, or like Thai, because Thai food is great. This self-hating fuck was like, I would want to be North Indian. When you are brown, you are taught to hate yourself for one reason or another. And a large reason that I am not friends with brown folk, even though I want to be closer to my culture, even though I would love to be able to pass on my language and my food to my children in the future, is that misery loves company. And I am not miserable.
So Kamala Harris being black is independent of the incredible anti-blackness in Asian communities. So I've posted a number of videos about the anti-blackness that many Asians have. For example, the Indian American community expresses a lot of anti-blackness, which is in some ways tied to colonialism and the colorism inherent in Indian society. But in other ways, it's also about identifying with whiteness. But that is not the only reason that Kamala Harris is black. In the United States, blackness is defined, theoretically as one drop, but inherently as if you could look black. And the state of being black is so contested in American society. And I do agree. That's also why you have such strong community in African American community. She was accepted. Totally agree with that. But even if she didn't identify as black, she'd still be classified as black, because that's how our system works.
Now look, there is plenty to say about Kamala Harris, but attacking her racial background, bruh, that don't make sense. Yeah, her mama Indian, but you know we got a shared history with them, right? Britain colonized India just like they did Africa and the Americas. It took their land, installed their own government, raised their taxes while they worked long hours for little money. Farmers were forced to grow opium and indigo instead of food. Britain forced a famine. They forced poverty. They forced oppression. When Britain ended slavery in 1833, they brought in Indian indentured servants to replace formerly enslaved blacks in their other colonies. Talking about Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana. They were on the sugar, tea, and rubber plantations. Yes, as indentured servants. Oh, technically it wasn't slavery. They could go back to India usually after 5 years. They made that trek across the Atlantic Ocean, usually in overcrowded ships filled with disease. And they were treated just like slaves were on those plantations. Then in the 1950s, India was fighting for independence from Britain. They wanted to kick Europe out their country just like the rest of the world. In 1959, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. went to India to learn about their resistance, specifically Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. Gandhi used to write letters to black leaders in America expressing their shared struggle. Hey look, blackness has a sound, a feel, a history, but it also has a shared struggle with oppressed people all around the world. So worrying about her blackness just may not be the move, because it could look different across time and space. Oh, and her dad Jamaican. Last time I checked, that was black.
I would not recommend going to Delhi.
Okay. Scratch that off.
because Delhi is also a great cultural vibe, but the people sometimes are very, and especially because you're black, I'm gonna tell you there are racists over there who are very much in your face. Like I'm not even gonna lie. There's my black friend from America had come down. He was from Brooklyn, and he was visiting Mumbai, and he's queer, so he was like, "What are the queer hotspots?" So I took him to like a bar and everything, and this is in the most uppity part of Mumbai, right, where all the influential and affluent people come and drink. So we're having a smoke in the balcony, and there's a song in India, and pardon my words, but in India, nigahe means eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the eyesight.
Okay.
So the song has the word nigaho mein. So
Yeah.
he was saying that verbatim on purpose because there was a black guy and they could say the N word without saying the N word because of the Indian word.
Oh, they try to do that shit?
My blood was just like curdling, not even boiling. It was just like, I'm like, bro, like, and the girl next to him was like, she was pinching, like, shut the fuck up, don't do this. You know, so that also happens, you know.
Okay, so before I started my series, I wanted to tackle this question right here. A lot of Indians don't like black people because if you have a baby with a black guy, they think how dark it will come out. And in my case, this is true. So my family always called me dark growing up. Mind you, I'm not that dark, but my mother is darker than me and my father is lighter than me. So of course, then you get me. But apparently I'm still dark. So when I was pregnant with my son, all my mom would say is how dark my child was going to be. Now, when he was born, when you look at the top of a newborn's earlobe, you'll see what color they're going to be, basically. Their pigmented earlobe basically tells you how dark or how light the child is. So what she said was, he's going to be so dark, look at his ear. I was like, huh? I didn't get it until later that she thought that because of his ear, he's going to be dark. And well, anyway, colorism is a big issue in India, and that could be why they don't really like the intermingling with black people. Now, that being said, my mom did remarry after my parents divorced, and she did marry a white guy, and my sister is half white, so she's super, super bright. So, yeah.
I just wanted to comment on this video about this Indian couple getting married. The Indian guy is very dark. He's basically my complexion, and his wife is a little fairer than him. And the comments they're getting, it's just like, why is this dark-skinned man with this lighter-skinned woman? It's just like complexion complaints from Indian folks, from their own folks.
और जब मैंने लोगों का reaction देखा, I was in that my family got targeted. You are nobody.
Anytime I see a video that really hits me, I go, man, let me talk about it. First of all, India is they are, when it comes to complexions, listen, every brown society has complexion problems. This all stems from white supremacy and European colonization, European standards of beauty. This is all facts. India was colonized by England, Nigeria colonized by England, England colonized a bunch of Caribbean, France, all of that. So all the European influence made brown people feel like shit. Okay, even in their makeup products, if you go to some of these countries, when I was in Thailand, all the advertisement was light ass Thai people, light as fuck, and most of the Thai people are dark brown. It's the same thing in the Philippines, same thing in some parts of Africa, and same thing in parts of Asia. It's insane. It's like even with Bollywood, it's like these Indians be light as fuck, but they still look Indian, which is hilarious. But they are light as hell. That's why I always advise people to watch movies from Telugu. The Telugu movies, that's a different part of India, but you'll actually see brown people because the majority of India is brown. So it's nice to see these new Telugu movies like RRR, for example. If you're ever interested, watch RRR and you'll see actually brown people. You know, of course, all these different countries are made up of different complexions, but they always put the lighter people in front. There's one called Light and Lovely, I think. It's a bleaching cream in India, Light and Lovely. I think it's Light and Lovely, I think. If I'm wrong, let me know, but it's they have that on the shelf like in Vaseline. They buy that Light and Lovely. In Nigeria they had Ambi. I think it's still there, but a lot of lightening creams are in a lot of these countries, even in America, and it's pretty fucked up. And I heard that a lot of these lightening creams cause cancer and like that. So for those of you who are lightening your skin, I don't want anything good to happen to you. Be yourself. Now, this is not me wanting people to die of anything, but you deserve to be poisoned. because you already are poisoning yourself with your negative thoughts and ashamed of what you look like. Listen, I understand as a dark-skinned man. I understand people make fun of you. They do this, all this other. Yeah, it happened to me as a kid, but thank God I had strong Nigerian parents where dark skin is normal. It's okay. Being dark is great, all right? Be who you are. You understand what I'm saying? And I remember when light-skinned black folks would make fun of me. Yes, light-skinned black people say, you know, they call you black this, black that, dark this, that, this, but all my light-skinned friends look like now. That light skin doesn't hold up too long. Listen, it's a joke, but it's a joke though. But anyway, all complexions are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And that couple look great. And it's a shame that really India has a real serious complexion problem, and it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that out. So be proud of who you are, and all you dark folk out there, you're still dope. You're still amazing. And I know, listen, it gets really bad because even in the NBA, I think the NBA is very light-skinned now. The NBA is very light-skinned. It used to be darker back in the day. You look in the 80s and 90s, way more darker dudes. But now it's very light-skinned. That's probably why they don't play defense, because if you foul one of these light-skinned dudes, they'll bruise easy. You know what I mean? And you know, and I think this is an example. I think the reason why the NBA is so light-skinned, because you had a lot of insecure dark-skinned basketball players in the past, so they made sure they got with either really light-skinned women or white women to make sure their children didn't have to suffer later on. That's just a social theory, everybody. Hey man, I'm out of here.
So as a Guyanese West Indian woman, I actually just wanted to add my 2 cents on this, because growing up back home, my family was one of 2 Indian families in a predominant black village. And we were always taught to, you know, respect our elders, regardless of the skin tone. You respect everyone around you. You know, my best friends were black. We went to school with everyone who were black. And I don't think my grandpa even really knew why he did not want, like, you were allowed to be besties. His best friends were black, our neighbors were black. You know, when we kill our animals for Christmas time, we don't feed half the village. But he always used to preach, like, you never marry a black person. And I don't think we really truly knew why we felt that way. Obviously now looking back, slavery, because we were the lighter skinned slaves, you know, the slaves that came from Africa were meant to feel that we were superior to them because of our skin tone. But a slave is a slave is a slave is a slave. And all of my aunts and uncles later went on to marry a black man or woman. And so all my cousins are, you know, biracial or Dougla for the Guyanese people. That's what we called a biracial person. You're Dougla. And so I don't think he fully knew why he was supposed to feel that way, but he did. And I mean, like I said, all of my cousins are mixed, except for me. My mom married a Guyanese Indian person. So, you know, but I mean, even as a Guyanese Indian person, I'm like 12% black. So the mixture happened, whether we liked it or not. But it was just interesting for me because I never felt like it was racially profiling back home. You know, we break bread with them. We invite everyone over. We have parties. We sit down. We congregate with them. We go to their weddings. They come to our weddings. Like, you know, we were very much immersed in each other's cultures. And so it never felt like the North American version of racially profiling someone or racism. It never felt that way. But of course, you know, it's obviously still a version of that to say that you can be best friends with them and, you know, we can grow up our entire lives with them. But, oh, you can't marry that person because they're black. I don't think it ever really had anything to do with, you know, your skin tone. Because especially in Guyana, like, it's a Caribbean country. It's very hot. Everyone have some level of melatonin going on. I think we just have to thank slavery for that. You know, thank the white people for conditioning us and putting us to fight against each other, because even to this day, the black and the Indians are fighting and we don't know what the fuck we're fighting for. But it's just interesting, you know, South American versus North America, how you look at things.
So guys, there you have it. And what I'm gathering from these videos is that the issue of race, the issue of color, is not something that is insignificant. It's a very significant part of us that we need to really do a lot of work on, because we cannot keep doing things the same way. Now, this is particularly new to me. I did not have previous information on this happening. Talking about Indians and how they treat black people in America, black Americans. And this is actually very sad, you know. It's a very sad thing to try to think of and try to imagine that people have to live like that every day in fear. They have to live, always feeling like they are not in the right place, always feeling like they're being discriminated upon by everyone. And this is part of the reason why I hear people talk of African Americans always feel like nobody loves them. Because if you do your research very well, if you try to dig deep into things like this, then you realize how that is actually a thing. Because people that are supposed to even feel the same as you, people that are supposed to treat you as if they understand what you're going through, are the same ones that are also looking down upon you. And this is very sad, I think. It's very, very sad. And I'm only happy for one thing, that there are many Indians and people from other races that are joining up and trying to help in this situation, because as you have seen in the videos, there are very many Indians that have come out to call out their people and say how it is. You know, if you asked someone that is racist this question, they would very likely not admit that they are racist. I have not yet come across someone that would proudly and openly say that they are racist. They always try to make it look like they are not. And yeah, you know, so finding people that are actually able to come out and talk about these things openly and say how they saw it from their own families and how their families treat black people, and how their families even talk about their own that are a little bit like darker skin. Now, this is actually like, it's a very sad thing, because as a dark person, black person, if you came across an Indian that is considered dark where they come from, you wouldn't exactly look at them as dark, you know. You actually look at them and think they're fair or light, you know. But apparently where they come from, and it's very sad that we're talking about home. Home is supposed to be the place that you feel safe. Home is supposed to be the place that you are most comfortable. Home is supposed to be the place that gives you safety and peace of mind and comfort. But here is a situation where home is turning out to be the place that you need to be fearful of. Home is supposed to be the place you can run to, you know. But in this situation, home has become the place that you want to avoid. Home has become the place that you do not want to associate with. And this is wrong in every sense. This is so wrong. And I hope that the people that are watching this, whether you are Indian, whether you are white, whatever color, yellow, or whatever color that you are, I hope that you learn from this, because this is not okay. You cannot afford to make your own children, your own family, and your own friends. You cannot afford to make them feel uncomfortable, because and as you have seen in the videos, most of these people actually say it casually. When they're talking about your skin tone, they say it out casually as if it is a simple thing, you know, as if it's just a joke, you know. But they do not know the impact that this has to you as a person. They do not know how many days you're going to live there and go still think about these things. And yeah, it's very, very sad. And I hope that they get some of these videos like this one that I'm making today. I hope they find these videos and get to know the impact that those words have had on someone. You can actually make your own child go to school and not perform because they are always feeling inferior, because you cannot afford to make your own child feel inferior at home and you expect them to go to school and shine. It doesn't happen that way. I'm saying that because I'm an educator myself for a profession. It doesn't happen that way. It has to begin at home. You have to give them the environment that they feel safe. You have to give them the environment where they feel they're accepted and they're worthy of every good thing that is out there. So if this child is feeling like they're a half of a human being, and it's actually worse when they have siblings that are fair-skinned or lighter than them, and you're always making these jokes of just listen to what they said. They said in the Indian families that are racist, when you get a child that is darker, so they call that child as a joke, they call that child a black person, like it's a joke, I do not understand how that is supposed to be okay. And I wonder, an adult, a fully grown brain, fully developed, how do you even get yourself to thinking like that? And I'm saying this emotionally because I'm looking at this thing as a whole and what it has done to the world. The beauty industry is very much to blame, and the advertisements, as you've heard in the video. I'm saying that because that thing is not only in America, it's not only in white places. You might or might not believe this, but I will tell you for free that even in Africa, that thing is affecting people, because Africa as a whole, and maybe let's say many third world countries, many developing countries, they look up to the first world countries, which, for example, let's talk of America. That is where the beauty standards are, it happens that in America, if you want to be considered beautiful, then you have to have blue eyes. I have read a book by a certain beautiful author. The book is called Blue Eyes. Yeah, something like that. The Bluest Eyes. Yeah, I remember the title. The Bluest Eyes. And you read that book and you're like, wow, I did not know that this applies to the other world as well. So in America, you have to have blue eyes. Guess what is happening in Africa right now? People that look like me, or fairer or lighter, they have, I don't know what they're called, but they have things they insert inside their eyes here. Yeah. And those things are colored. Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're a little like light blue, They have colors. They even have green ones. Now, that's laughable, because the extent that people are willing to go just to avoid being themselves is crazy. And personally, I have never understood how I would get them. And it's not because I have not gone through that myself. I have. And I'm saying this, I'm actually comfortable saying this, because I have never allowed it to get into me so much that it makes my daily activities not run as smooth. Now, the beauty standards in America are you have to be slim, and now people in Africa are trying so hard to go hungry to become slim. Now, times change and the beauty standard becomes you have to be thick, you have to be light-skinned, Now, light-skinned, let's talk about light-skinned because it's the reason we are here. There are very many beauty products that are being created every single day for specifically dark-skinned people, who are the majority actually, for example, in Africa. Now, personally, when I go to town, to any place that is outside of my house, there are very many places that you go and shamelessly someone will come to you and say, I have this screen lightening product you would like to use, don't you want to be lighter? And you look at them and they have really lightened their skins. They look like some weird people,
Sweet Sweetie, yes, this is me after whitening my skin, Sweetie. This is the best decision, Sweetie, I made in my life. These are some of the products, Sweetie, that we do use. Look at them, Sweetie. Knuckle cream, face cream, body cream, Sweetie, that is going to whiten you everywhere, Sweetie.
They have really lightened their skins, and I wish I could just tag a short video here, but I do not want to shame anyone, so I will not do it. But they look weird to me. They look like, there's a difference between someone that is born light and then there's you that wants to lighten your skin, that you was not made for that, So they look a bit very, very weird for me, and they don't see it themselves. They're actually happy and they keep encouraging each other, and they have circles that are open to that kind of thing. So they think it's comfortable for them to just keep shouting at people that are shopping in a mall or doing something out there. Sometimes it's even a very important thing. Maybe you are even hunting for a job, and someone comes at you like, don't you want to be lighter? And they have those creams, and it's just crazy. Let me tell you, it's very crazy. And we are unfortunately part of the problem, because, for example, here in Africa, you will find our men that have not decolonized their minds. They keep pressuring women, and they don't say it outright, but the way that they behave, it makes you automatically pick that they would prefer the light-skinned women. For example, if there is a couple that the man is dark and the men, they're okay. If they're dark, it's still fine. But for women, it's a different thing altogether. Women, they have to be light, If you're having wedding pictures and the man is dark and the guy is light, the girl is light-skinned, there will be a lot of comments praising the couple, how beautiful they look, how they will have beautiful children. But wait until someone is, for example, you change the situation. The man is lighter and then the lady is dark. It's hell, it's hell. People will start talking about she's ugly, and they actually say it. Here they say it outright. You're ugly. How did you find that man? How did you convince him? What did he see in you? Like all those things. And it's crazy. And unfortunately, that is the society that we live in. But then we need to do a lot more than we are doing. We might look like we are doing enough, but we are not. We need to still put in a lot of work, because we cannot keep doing the same things all over and expecting different results. We have to teach children. I will keep insisting on that. Teach children to know that they are beautiful the way that they are. Teach them to adore themselves, so much so that when they come to the world and people are giving them different opinions about them, they will have a hard time taking it. And I forgot to mention something. Now, growing up, you were exposed to these things still, that a beautiful child is one that is lighter. You that is darker, then it means something else. And you would have to go to school to make sure that you find one thing that you are good at, and make sure that, your main point is to make all these people be quiet and never talk about your skin color, skin tone, or something of that sort. So you have to find something that you're so good at and make sure that you're so good at it that no one else can beat you. And then that will make them shut the hell up. And what is that for most people? Books. You make sure that you're very serious with your books. You make sure that you do your work very well. You do a lot of reading. You make sure that you do very, very well. Extremely. It has to be extremely, not just good. You work extremely hard in school such that these people, when they even want to talk some shitty stuff about you, they will be scared, They're always thinking, well, we are lighter, but she is smarter. So, and you see, smarter is better than light, definitely. So, and you're making your children to go through all that pressure. because they want to be accepted. That is a cry for acceptance. So let's not do that. Let's try to, as much as possible, make this thing better for ourselves and for the people that we love. And I just hope that it will be okay someday. And I'm actually positive that one day we will not be discussing these things, and we will discuss the real matters that affect us. We will have other things to talk about that are more important, but as for now, this is the issue that is at hand, and this is what we're going to give weight to, because we have to solve this if we are ever supposed to discuss anything better. So I hope, guys, you're keeping safe and loving yourselves a little bit more this week. And for new subscribers, I have new subscribers, and I'm so happy at the rate at which you're subscribing to my channel. For those that are new and this is the first video you're coming across, kindly consider subscribing to my channel for this kind of content and more. And also, most important, go to the comment sections, leave us your comment there. If it is an experience that you've had in the past that made you feel like this was only because my skin tone is not like the rest of the people. If you have an experience with, if it's a friend or family or yourself, kindly share your comment and what you have to say about this. And also, maybe if you've had an encounter with an Indian that made you feel a little bit disrespected and looked down upon because of your color, go to the comment section, leave a comment there. And I hope that we all learn from this. We are doing this video so that we learn, yeah? We are not perfect, and there's no one that knows it all. So I'm sure there are people, for example, Indians are watching this, and it's just coming to their awareness that they actually are racist, There is internalized racism that most people do not get to know about. They think they are okay because they do not feel the hate inside of them, but then it's internalized and they do some things. For example, when someone is telling you, you look like blacks, this kid looks like... Now they're making it look like a joke, but then they don't know how that will affect you for the rest of your life, and maybe it's just internalized and they don't think that that is wrong, To them, it's light, So let's keep learning. Let's share this video to our friends, our families, and to everyone that would be interested in learning and relearning. So guys, I hope to see you on my next one. Bye for now.